Listen up because I gotta put you onto some really good books. Hello, welcome back to Slaggy Book Club. I'm Cameron and this is my December reading wrap up. I took you through all the best books that I read in 2025. I even took you through all of the worst books that I read in 2025, but I still haven't told you about the books that I read in the last month of the year. And there was one extremely crazy and kind of horrible one, but the rest, they were all really good and I cannot wait to tell you about them. So we're gonna dive right in. Before we start, if you're new here, I chat about literary fiction, a little bit of nonfiction, and a little bit of whatever else I want. If you haven't already, please hit subscribe, give this video a thumbs up, all the buttons down there make a world of difference. That's enough, let's go. I started the month by reading Hamnet by Maggie O'Farrell. Of course, this must be on all of your radars now. I did know about this book before the movie was announced and in the works and all of that, but I honestly had no interest in reading it. I was like, that's not really my kind of book. Historical fiction, Maggie O'Farrell feels like a bit mumsy. I know that I like contemporary literature that's a bit more playful, a bit more fast-paced, a bit more relatable. I just don't think I'm going to connect with that story, so I had no interest in picking it up. And then I was very lucky to be invited to an early screening of Hamnet, and I was like, shit, should I read the book? Should I have a flick through just to sort of get an idea of what's going on? Because I have been enjoying doing that lately. There have been so many book to screen adaptations coming out. Actually, let me know if you want me to do a video on all of the book to screen adaptations that we can expect to see this year, because I feel like book to screen is having a really strong moment. And there are a lot of really exciting things coming out. I digress. My point is that I really enjoy having the opportunity to read the source material before going to see a film if it is based on a book. And so I thought, why not? I'll give it a go. I borrowed a copy of Hamnet off of a friend and immediately was in love. Maggie's writing in this novel is so beautiful. I cared so much for the characters. I was so absorbed by the world. I was just absolutely adoring it. It was so lyrical, it was so visceral, it was just stunning. I only got about halfway through before seeing the film, and I still then wanted to finish the book after watching the film. I was like, well, now I know what happens. Now I know how it ends. Now I know how it all plays out, but I still want to read the book. And I think that that really is a testament to the writing, and that really is like the thing that I loved most about the book. And so interestingly, like obviously you can't translate beautiful writing onto the screen necessarily, and so I feel like the equivalent obviously is like beautiful visuals. And so visually, cinematically, aesthetically, the film is stunning. I highly recommend the book, even if, like me, you are not drawn to historical fiction. If you don't know, Hamnet is basically the imagined life of William Shakespeare's family. And so Hamnet was William Shakespeare's son who died. Shakespeare then wrote the play Hamlet. It is believed to be about his son Hamnet and the death, but it focuses very heavily on William Shakespeare's wife, Agnes, and her relationship with her children. Like in the book, William is really not much of a character at all. He is obviously more so in the film. We have Paul Mescal, you gotta give Paul the screen time. But in the book, it is very focused on Agnes and the children, and it is so beautiful and so gut-wrenching. And yeah, wow. I am questioning whether I read more Maggie O'Farrell, perhaps The Marriage Portrait, just to see if I like a little more, because yeah, that book, stunning, beautiful. Then took a total turn and read something completely different. I had been so curious about Sayaka Murata's new novel, latest novel, Vanishing World, which is basically a sort of speculative fiction about a world where sex and procreation between partners and married couples is now considered really taboo. Like it's basically the same as incest, like it's kind of fucked up. And the way that people procreate is completely artificial insemination. That's the normal way to do it. And our protagonist finds out that her parents had her the old school way, and she's like, that's crazy, that's so embarrassing. But she has these like curiosities inside of her, and I don't know, they sort of navigate this world. And I was really like intrigued by that plot. I was like, what does that look like? What does a world where partners don't sleep together, married couples don't have babies together the old-fashioned natural way, like that sounds really interesting. I'm curious. And I had read Earthlings. I should have known. I have read Sayaka Murata before. I know what she's capable of. But I just thought like that Earthlings was its own thing, that she'd written this very weird book, and like not all of her books were going to be like that. Everyone loves Convenience Store Woman. Everyone always talks about Convenience Store Woman, and I'm like, surely Convenience Store Woman isn't that weird, like for it to have such mass market appeal. Maybe it's not, but Vanishing World is. Vanishing World was, and y'all know me, y'all know I like weird, but Vanishing World was so unsettling, creepy, pervy. It was just the way that the characters thought about and spoke about certain things that was just really like yuck. And I almost wonder if it's like a translation thing, because it is very much about the language, like the choice of language used when they're talking about certain things like sexual things or bodily things or whatever. And so maybe it's like a translation issue. I don't know, but it just, I finished the book. I struggled through it and finished the book because I still was like very interested in the world and the actual plot and what was going on. But oh, it's just so yucky. It was just so yucky, icky, and weird, derogatory. And that's all I have to say about that, because complete tone shift again. I then read On the Calculation of Volume number 2. I read Calculation of Volume 1 earlier in the year, and I wasn't super sure how I felt about it. I couldn't figure it out. I was like, I'm intrigued. I'm a little bored, a little underwhelmed. I think I'm curious to see what happens next. I think I'll read the next one, and then maybe if it doesn't pick up, I'll leave it there. And then I just didn't really think about it, and I didn't really have any interest in reading the second one, to be fair. But then I got sent On the Calculation of Volume 3 when that came out recently. And I was like, well, maybe I should do it. And so I downloaded number 2 on my Kindle and was like, why not? It's a short book, you know. Some of my friends have said that they liked it, so I'll just give it a go. And we'll see if the story picks up or if something happens. And I knew that, so in the Calculation of Volume 1, the protagonist wakes up and realizes that she is living the same day on repeat. She is stuck in a time loop, Groundhog Day style, November 18th, over and over and over. November 18th, November 8th. Who cares? That is basically all of book 1. She doesn't really do a whole lot. She doesn't like freak out or go crazy or do anything insane. She doesn't try that hard to figure out what's happening or why it's happening. I didn't really understand the way that she behaved. I was like, I don't think I would act like that. Anyway, in number 2, you know, because it's like in the synopsis, that she meets someone who is also, wait, no, maybe that's in number 3. I mean, regardless, it's in the synopsis of either 2 or 3, that she like sees a guy and like realizes that he is also in the same time loop and stuck in the same day as her. And so that is the thing that drew me in. I was like, oh, so something exciting is gonna happen. We are gonna make some progress in the plot here. And so that was why I picked up Calculation Volume 2. She meets the guy right at the very end. And again, that's not a spoiler because this is public information, like, and it's also just like not that interesting of a story that like a spoiler is that concerning. You almost need this spoiler to hook you into the book, honestly. For the majority of Calculation Volume 2 is the exact same as Calculation Volume 1. She has like lent in a little bit more, accepted her situation, but she's still not really doing anything interesting. And it's just like, okay, great. It's somehow still like, I kept reading, like I wasn't like so bored that I wanted to put it down. I think it's just because of like the inherent nature of the situation, the plot, what is happening. Like, obviously it's very intriguing, you know what I mean? And so like, I think that I was stuck turning the pages because you want so badly for something to happen. You want so badly for there to be an explanation. You want so badly for her to stumble on something that's like, oh my God, you know what I mean? And so I think that's what sort of kept me reading. It's like, this is such an interesting predicament to be in. I wish she would do more about it. I wish she would like go a little crazy with it, or like Google the fuck out of it and go down some Reddit threads, or like start shaking people on the street and yelling at them and trying to convince someone that like she just doesn't do that much. And I think that's what I find really unsatisfying about it and quite irritating about it, and why I don't think I will end up picking up number 3. I have a friend who's read number 3 and they confirmed to me that still nothing much happens. And so I'm like, why? What's the point? And like, people talk about it as like being like it's just like, it's not about what's happening. It's just like a beautiful meditation on like humanity and what it means to live. But I don't think that it's that profound to me. Like I'm not really taking that much away from it in that sense. So that's my thoughts and feelings about this series. Who knows, maybe in like a few years' time, once all of them are out and translated to English, that like all 7 or 8 of them, and I've heard people talking about them and gotten a vague idea of how it all plays out, maybe I'll be interested to pick them up. Like, I do like the idea of having read the entire series. I do like the idea of having the entire series on my shelf, like just to say I have. But I'm not interested in it, really. It's not exciting. It's not, yeah, I don't know. It's not for me. So then I picked up an author that I know I love, and I read some Deborah Levy. And this is the second of her fictions that I have read. I don't even know if she has any other fictions. I talk about loving Deborah Levy's writing, but I'm not like so much of a fan that I'm like super familiar with all of her work. I'm slowly making my way through her stuff. Like, I've done her Living autobiography trilogy. I've done Hot Milk. I've done something else. I've got The Position of Spoons on my TBR. And now I've read this, which I completely devoured in like a single night. And it just like totally reminded me how and why I love her writing. I mean, this is a short book. There's not a lot to take in, but it's just lovely. I just love the way she writes. What I will say, it's really interesting. I do feel like I've read, this is like a very specific kind of story with a very specific kind of tone, where it's like a female protagonist in Europe. She's like maybe in her 40s, and there's some kind of like tense relationship with another woman happening. It's very like Italian summer, or you know, you're on the sort of villa mansion staying with people, and it's sweaty, and I don't know, there's so many books that I could pull on my shelf that have this exact vibe, and so many of them I've not liked, but I've been drawn to them because I've read stories like this that are incredible, but some of them were like not good. But now I want to like put together a pile of these books and be like, these are all the same, so I'm gonna do that. But anyway, August Blue by Deborah Levy, absolutely worth the read. This is like a great lounging on the beach, all vibes, summer read. Not a lot of plot, but stunning, beautiful. And yeah, I will be continuing to absorb all of Deborah Levy's writing. And then I read Bog Queen, which I bought because I knew I had never seen it. And then it arrived at the bookstore and I was like, that looks kind of fun. That looks kind of quirky. That cover gives off a certain vibe. What is this? And so I read the back and I was like, oh, that's different. That sounds quite interesting. I'd like to sort of learn about this. And so I'm just going to read it to you because I want you to feel what I felt or see how you react to just the exact blurb on the back here. In 2018, a young forensic scientist, homesick and adrift in the north of England, is heading to the coroner's office to identify a body. But this body, found in a moss-layered bog, is not like any Agnes has seen before. Its bones prove it was buried more than 2,000 years ago, yet it is almost perfectly preserved. Soon, Agnes is drawn into a mystery from the distant past, the death of an Iron Age queen, more like her than she knows. Along the way, she must contend with numerous groups who want to profit from the bog and activists who demand that the land be left undisturbed. Meanwhile, underfoot, the wet, teeming colony of moss has its own dark stories to tell. In Bog Queen, the lives of two young women, separated by many centuries, become inextricably connected as each learns to harness their strange strengths in a landscape more mysterious than either can imagine. Like, how intriguing. And the reason I decided to buy it was because, again, like I said, had seen nothing of it. I don't think it got like a lot of marketing or anything, but for some reason this was selling like hot cakes. So many people were buying this book and we kept reordering it at the bookstore and it kept selling out. And I was like, what is it? Is it just like the cover is drawing people in, or people like, I don't know. I feel like the cover drew people in and then they read the blurb and they were like, oh, this actually sounds like genuinely extremely interesting. And it appealed to like a lot of different people. Like this appeals to, it's not like a standard weird girl book or anything, right? Like this is actually, so I was like, okay, what is this damn book? Why is it selling so well? I'm not seeing anyone talk about it, and yet flying off the shelves. I need to know. And so I bought it and it was really interesting. It wasn't what I expected at all. It's like a combination, it flicks through the two perspectives of the forensic scientist in 2018, like in the modern day, and then this other woman, an Iron Age queen, yeah, back thousands of years ago, right? So long ago. It's like such old times that it almost felt like I was reading a fantasy adventure novel kind of thing, right? Like nothing fantasy happened, but just in terms of like the era and the world that her story was set in, it was very much like those times where it's like oldie and royals and riding on horseback and those kinds of things, right? And then you would flip back to the modern day forensic scientist and it felt like you were just reading like a contemporary crime mystery novel and flicking back and forth between the two. And then you also get these like little poetic kind of intermission-y excerpt bits that are from like the bog's perspective in a sense. And the way that it like toggled back and forth and broke up and blended, like it was like so many different things in one, and it was fascinating. It really was. And what I will say is that I did feel, because it felt like a blending of a crime mystery kind of story and a fantasy, I was anticipating some kind of big reveal or you know, not like a twist necessarily, but yeah, I think like a big discovery or a big sort of, oh my god moment, you know? And there wasn't. Like you kind of get what's going on the whole time. The point is more just to like, I guess, spend time with the two women, compare their lives side by side. And it was really interesting. It was, yeah, like a little anticlimactic, I suppose. It's not like a super exciting read, but I can see why it was like, obviously, like, I don't know, I can see why it was selling. That doesn't really reflect like how the story is to read, because people were buying it, I think, based on just like how interesting it sounded. But I think that all of the people buying it were probably not disappointed by it, I guess I can say. It was like a quite good read. I think that, yeah, it's one that will appeal to a lot of people. Like a lot of readers of a lot of different genres, a lot of different interests. It's not a fast-paced or exciting story, but it's just so unique, like so unlike anything that I've read before. The blending of the two timelines was just, yeah, really fascinating. I really liked it. I want to know if this has been on anyone's radar. Like, have you seen this book? Have you seen anyone talking about this book? Have you like stumbled on it in a bookstore? Has it caught your eye? I'm so curious about the reception of this, because I just honestly have seen nothing except for it selling at the bookstore that I work at. The last book that I read was my best book of the month. But first I'm going to tell you about the audiobook that I listened to in December, which was Guts by Melissa Leong. This is a memoir. Melissa Leong, if you're Australian, you know her. She is most known for being one of the judges on MasterChef. She is not particularly a chef per se. She's more a food critic, food writer. She is no longer a judge on MasterChef, but she has had a huge career in the food industry, in food writing. And this is her memoir, and it was really good. She is such a cool woman. She is so inspirational. She has so much great wisdom to impart. Her entire career journey is fascinating. I want to be her friend. Like, she's so cool. And the memoir is also like peppered with recipes, which is so generous of her. I almost want to go and get the physical, because I listened to the audiobook, I want to go and get the physical copy of the book so that I can have the recipes, because they sounded really good. But yeah, I highly recommend this. I feel like this is a memoir that would appeal to a lot of people, like even if you don't know who she is, or like I didn't know much about her at all, but I am fascinated by the food industry, and I also, yeah, just like her vibe from what I had seen of her. But yeah, it was just like, it's just so fascinating, and she's so generous and vulnerable, and I think it's really impressive how much like confidence she has and has seemed to have always had in herself and her ability to do the work. It's sort of like this like confidence boost reading it. It's like, hey, yeah, like I can do that. I can do things. Like, I should believe in myself. I should have more confidence. Like, I want to live like she lives. I want to like take so many pages out of her book, so to speak. So yeah, if you are someone who likes reading the odd memoir from time to time, this was a really good one. Okay, finally, the best book that I read in December. Oh my god, so good. I've been telling so many people to read it. It was Minor Black Figures by Brandon Taylor. Brandon Taylor wrote Real Life, which took me way too long to read, but it was absolutely stunning. And what I will say, let me say this, Real Life is about a scientist. And so there's so much science in there. And that I remember when I was reading it, I was like, girl, what the fuck are you talking about? There was so much that went over my head, because it actually like got into like the real sciencey stuff. I was like, I don't know what any of this means. This is about an artist, and there is so much art world stuff. And I'm like, Brandon, how do you know so much about so much? How do you know so much about biology? And how do you know so much about historical art and shit? Like art restoration, or just the art world in general. Like, this man is either a genius or does so much research and puts so much time into his works. I don't know. This is one that I want to now like go and read and watch and listen to a bunch of interviews with Brandon Taylor because I'm fascinated by him. This is a story about, as I said, a young black gay artist in New York. He is a painter, but his day job is art restoration. He meets this white guy at a bar. They kind of hit it off, and then he discovers that this white guy was up until very recently a priest. And he's like, oh, well, and they reckon with their differences, or their lack of differences, or whatever. And a prevailing sort of thing that I have noticed now in having read 2 of Brandon Taylor's books is that they are, yes, about the relationship between the 2 gay men, both of them, but I feel like the characters also really serve as mouthpieces for Brandon to mull over ideas like philosophical musings, or, you know, moral dilemmas, or political ideologies, and you know, conflicting kind of thoughts and beliefs on all sorts of freaking stuff. This guy thinks about so many different things, and he unpacks them and discusses them, and doesn't necessarily solve them, but just has his characters chat about them, and you know, that all perspectives are flawed and open, and they clash, and they work it out, or they don't, or it's awkward, or it's uncomfortable, or I really appreciate the way that, like, yes, it's a love story, it's very romantic, it's very sexy and horny, and all of those kinds of things, like the relationships between the characters are really interesting, but it's what they talk about, it's what they're there to discuss and make you as the reader think about. That is the real joy in reading Brandon Taylor's work, I think. That's what I've gotten from having read 2 of his books anyway. It's certainly the case with this one. I do feel like Real Life was a little bit more plot heavy. This is a bit more philosophical, but yeah, oh my gosh, it's just so beautiful. And it reminded me of A Little Life, in the sense that one of my biggest takeaways when I read A Little Life was how impressed I was by how real the characters and their world felt, because of how much Hanya had built them out, how much detail she had put into every room, every street, every memory, every, you know, character, everything. Like, it was so much detail, and every character had a history and an entire belief system, and yeah, it just all felt so real because it was so fleshed out, and every element, every character was so rich, and this really has that same quality, which I just find it so impressive. And this is the kind of thing that's like, the author clearly spends so much time planning the story, you know, thinking about what they want to go into it, and just going around and around, and I don't know, I find writings like that so impressive. So yeah, this absolute highlight. So good. Tell me if you've read it. I know that Brandon Taylor has like a few other books, and Filthy Animals and The Late Americans, I think I'm gonna have to read them. I think I'm gonna have to do all of Brandon Taylor, because bloody hell, he's good. He's really good. And that's it. That's everything that I read in December. Goodness me. It was a good month. I bought a stack of books for myself about halfway through the month, because I hadn't bought books in a very long time, and it was very cool how excited that got me about reading. You know, I was like, straight away I was picking up the books that I bought and absolutely like smashing them out. The 3 physical ones I've just shown you are all books that I'd bought, and I just straight away picked them up. And I think that, yeah, it's obviously an unrelatable very privileged dilemma to have, that, oh no, all the books that I've been reading for the majority of the year are books that have been sent to me for free. But there is such a joy in shopping for books, picking them out, discovering them, you know, the choice, the decision to choose a certain book, right? That contributes to the joy of reading it. And I'm glad that I reminded myself of that. So I am gonna, yeah, get back into buying more books, because that's a lot of the joy of it, right? And we want to support bookstores and authors and all of that good stuff. So tell me what you have bought recently. What was the last book that you bought? What was the last book that you were in the bookstore and it caught your eye and you simply had to take it home with you? I would love to know, because that is, yeah, like I said, a big part of the joy of all of this is the actual going to your local bookstore and discovering what is there and taking it home with you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. This has been a long one. This has been a rambling one. This has been a loose and crazy one. It is a very hot day here right now and I am sweltering, so I'm gonna go and I'll see you in my next video. Love ya.